well, it's already going to be in tonight's minutes because we're discussing it, but also to offer an apology in tonight's minutes for those words.
1 second.
Just so I'm clear, I know we're going to include the italicized section. We're going to correct the spelling of the name and remove expressed frustration.
That's my motion, yeah, to remove those 2 words.
Correct the spelling and then add the italicized portion. So I just want to make sure we're...
I'll make a motion to an amendment to the motion to include the italicized portion of this document.
Right, that's what I meant, but yes.
And to correct the spelling of the name. Do I get a second?
Second.
We need to vote on the amendment.
Discussion on the amendment? Okay. All in favor of approving the amendment to the motion? Signify by saying aye.
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 No.
Opposed? You're opposed? 4-1. Excuse my cough. Now we have an amended motion. Is there discussion on the amended motion? Okay. All in favor of approving the motion as amended? By saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
4-1. Okay. Thank you.
And David, so tonight's minutes will reflect that, sort of an apology from the board with that motion.
Yeah, the minutes are
Originally.
going to be reflective of what
Okay, thank you.
went on here.
For the record, Mr. Chairman, I don't need an apology. That's fine. Thank you for your help.
Okay, item B, a new business email notification system. Informational/announcements. I believe this was, where's Dave?
Yes. I think we should create an opt-in email system where people could sign up and get information and updates from the school board and the administration about what's going on in the district. I think this recent audio question might have been a perfect thing to pose. Is there anybody out there that has expertise with audio systems? In my past life, when I was volunteering at Underhill with the Elves, I was amazed at how much talent we were able to garner from the community at absolutely no cost, and people that were willing to help. So that's one reason for it. Another reason for it may be openings on boards. That if we're looking for volunteers for boards and so forth. And just as much, also kind of feeding into one of our other topics here, public relations, making announcements, particularly maybe about our test scores or other things that are kind of going on. One of the things that I think that happens is that there are some communication systems with the schools, but it can tend to exclude people that either their children have passed on past the school and they're still interested, or maybe they just don't have kids in the school, but might be willing to help. Like some of the ALPS programs, when they bring in engineers to talk and so forth, that we might be able to get some people to do that. The other thing is, if you get somebody to opt into something like that, they're expressing an interest. And anybody that's expressing some kind of interest, I think we've got a lot better chance of bringing in than if we just put it out to the general public. Because by opting in, they've shown that interest and they've shown that they might be willing to do something. The other reason is that I think it would be no cost to run. I think we would want to set up some criteria, as I mentioned the other day. I wouldn't want it to be political or anything like that. I think that it should be announcements and requests for volunteers and that type of stuff. Thank you.
Oh. Questions? I know I have one.
Yeah, no, wait.
Well, so this is from the board out. This is not
My thought would it would be the Hooksett School District.
Okay.
And the board could utilize it. But for instance, if Dr. Littlefield wanted to announce the scores from the standardized testing, that would be an avenue for him to inform people. Or volunteers for the school and so forth.
Is it a do not reply type? And the reason I ask is somebody would have to maintain if there's information coming back in.
Right. The way that I would set it up would be, it would be a reply system, but it wouldn't be a reply all system. So if you received an email asking for someone with expertise in natural gas, you would reply to whoever reads the email. I wouldn't see that. No one else would see it on the list. You would just express your interest by replying to the email and asking for more information. So there would have to be somebody that reads the email and administers it. I mean, if we had a lot of traffic on it, that would be great. I mean, I don't think, certainly in the beginning, that it's going to be a big task. I think it's something that we might be able to build up. For instance, like the play that we had. Does anybody have an old couch that we need for the stage? Some of these kinds of things that it would be an avenue to shoot something out, and maybe you get a response and maybe you don't.
I'm a little confused. I mean, how would that differ than putting it on a website, school district website, saying, I mean, would these be people that give us their email address then ahead
Yes.
of time, and how would you?
Yeah, the idea of an opt-in, that term is something that's used by Constant Contact or anybody. If I want to create an email list for my business, to be in compliance and not be spamming you, I have to get you to agree to want to be on it. And that's what's called the opt-in. That you're consenting to be on that list. So if I decide to send you 10 emails tomorrow, you can't say that I'm spamming you because you agreed to be on the list. So it would be something that would be opted into. And what's a little different than the website, I think, is that websites are very static and people have to go there and look around. And I think, this would be more timely, that something's coming up and, I mean, right now the PTA is doing it all the time. Need a volunteer at Underhill or, this or that. So, I think it works. It's just that we don't have something for the district, and I think it would be a way for us to help with our public relations, because there are things that go on here that we're very excited about, or announcing the play that we had, things like that are more district-wide and not specifically to PTA, PTO, or some of the other groups.
Don't we already have that? I mean, I get emails every week from, well, it's just a school, but maybe couldn't we just expand on that? I mean, I had to give my email, and then I get announcements, and it might be the lunch menu or whatever, and there's other things on there each week from just Callie, I guess that is. Would it be similar to that? Or could we do it in the same system? So a parent might want to, at the beginning of the year, like how they gave their email for this, they could give it at the same time, or I don't know.
Well, it certainly could be. My idea was that we do have people that don't have children at Callie that may be interested. And especially when we start talking about professions, if you need somebody to come in and talk about meteorology or something like that, if we could get if those people opted into this, and when something was announced, they might get it. And then you have kids that, maybe somebody's got somebody at Memorial, but they're kind of interested because Collie's next.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was my thought, that it would be kind of an overall thing. These email lists are pretty easy to manage too for people, because I don't think this would produce a lot of traffic that people would worry about, but we all manage email now anyway. So if there were some messages coming, you can send them away to a mailbox if you want to. I wouldn't really worry about that. My idea is to kind of use it to be able to have a way to reach out to the public. The perfect example, when we're trying to find some people to be on these committees for the high school, and we talked about putting it in the banner. Well, this would be another avenue for that, and I think percentage-wise, out of those people, because they showed an interest, you might have a higher percentage of getting somebody to take it.
I would be more in favor of an email notification system if you didn't reply to the email as it was sent out, that the email said where to go, because I can tell you, being someone who has an email that comes to me, that I have, that's well known as being the Hooksett PTA, and you can respond to it, I probably get about 55 emails a week of people soliciting me to do something. And you have to sit there and delete, and that could be cumbersome when someone knew that email, whatever, Hooksett School District at SAU 15 was the email. You would start getting a lot of emails from fundraising companies and people that wanted to sell you something, and that would become cumbersome to somebody. You can send, in databases, you can send email that says you cannot respond to this email, and they go to the cert, like it just goes nowhere. If you had an email that was, we're looking for volunteers for the Hooksett School District to sit on high school committees, if you're interested, contact this person. It's directing it to the person who's generating it. Like, if you're telling someone about a play at Colley and it comes to the Hooksett School District email, then you have to forward it to Mrs. Kurtzman. Otherwise, you would put in there, if you have questions, see Mrs. Kurtzman. If you have questions about band, see Mrs. Warhol. Like, you direct the person in the email instead of an open email that can be responded to.
Well, I understand, and I think probably the reason we get a lot is because of the letters PTA, and people probably search those things for fundraising. I'm not as worried about that because I don't think we have that much traffic, and I think anything that we can do to create a dialogue with the public, I think that the public might need to respond and say, well, what does this entail? And maybe that email is then forwarded over to the shop teacher because it's about woodworking or whatever, but somebody, a connection is made that somebody can, from the school, the administration, can talk to that person. That's the connection. That's what brings that person in and is willing to serve. Sometimes if you send them to another place and they read something, I just see that as impersonal. And we're moving into a 21st century period here, so to keep that personal communication open, to build those relationships, I think is valuable for our school. And if it got to a point where it was cumbersome and bothersome, maybe we could restrict it or something, but that to me would be success if we have that many requests coming in that people wanted information. I think then we could deal with it at that time. Thank you.
Two quick questions. So if something didn't go the way we wanted, we could change it later on, right? That's first, right? This isn't, we can start this, and if there are problems or too many solicitations, and we could change it or delete it, get rid of it, or anything, right?
Yeah, because the motion that I'm looking for is vague, particularly. An email notification system.
Right,
you know what I mean? I don't want to tie the hands of the administration into some narrow thing that they have to do. I am just thinking that this would be a benefit to the district.
Yeah, I think so too, but my second question was the logistics of it. Is that something that's possible for the administration to do you think?
No.
Set them up like that? No?
I mean, I'm answering your question.
Right.
No, I'm not going to do it. My day is pretty full right now. I think the
Can it be
board.
done? Yeah.
I think the board needs. It's a good question. Logistically, I'm not totally clear on what it is. I understand the goal. I'm not clear on what it is, what the mechanism is to make this work, and then who would moderate and who would maintain is something that the board would have to, I mean, in terms of like responding,
Yeah.
that's not an issue. We get emails, we get 50, 60, 70 a day.